right. Hello, hello. I just restarted because I had 6 minutes where somehow the software got shut, but I'm trying to, yeah, there it is finally. Basically what I was saying, I mean, the most important thing I said was that you're very lucky. That lately what I've been doing, some days I just want to, I just go chronologically with my readings. Other days I just want to have like the list of like maybe like 15 or 20. Although, yeah, like right now the wait list is very short, so it's around that many. And just choose the one that I connect with. And I was going through them, and I really, with your chart, I find it very interesting, just the shape. And I'm going to show you. Okay, share screen. Yeah, this is my first reading in Colombia. So yeah, you literally got you skipped over a lot of people. But so you see the shape, how there's like a bunch over here and a bunch over here. So most of the important planetary points are over here. Um, However, you know, there is still a good amount from Capricorn opposing the Cancer. So it almost is like a battalion because there's not many aspects in the chart besides some of these oppositions. So let's see what we can uncover here. I'm going to turn this off. Okay. Actually, I'll I'll leave it on for a little bit longer. And I also want to see what was okay. Also, yeah, go as hard as I need to go. Okay. Well, I do that anyways. Okay. So let's do this. All right. Well, the first question is moon and sun. Very basic, but how does Cancer sun work with Gemini moon? And I guess what I would say to that is that they're very different signs, they're very different energies, but they can definitely work together well if you can give both of them what they need. So if you think about your sun and your moon as this yin and yang, masculine and feminine part of you, right? You think about Cancer and Gemini, and one of the two, the Cancer, is a lot more introverted, right? It's a lot more about just chilling, and the home life, the family life. It's very emotional. It's very nurturing, very caring. It's, Cancer as a sign is very traditional. It likes security, right? Sometimes when it gets hurt, it has a lot of trouble trusting again. Um, Now it's a slower moving sign, right? Like someone who has a lot of Cancer can be very happy, satisfied with a life that is, you know, more about family, more about things staying the same, etc. Now, this isn't the story for you, um, because you have your moon in Gemini. It's actually opposing my moon nearly exact, 1 degree from exact, which is pretty awesome. Um, oh my God, you have so many connections with me. I'm not being weird when I say that. Your midheaven is exactly my sun and Mercury. Crazy. And your Venus is exactly my ascendant. Damn. That's crazy. So you have your Venus and Regulus. I just had someone with Venus Regulus too. That's wild. Damn. How does that happen? How can I possibly have two people in a row who have Venus at 29? Look. Look, you see? Venus 29 Leo, the last reading I did, just like you. Anyways, well, that's cool. That's cool. Um, so yeah, basically with the Gemini moon, 12th house, unaspected. Let me just make sure that there's no minor aspects. Yeah. Well, actually, it is quincunx Pluto. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, Gemini moon is very different than Cancer. And it's a lot about excitement, curiosity, freedom. Um, so, you know, it's actually something I talk about a lot. And because it's very similar to my experience, which is having these two sides, right? The one that's water, Cancer, and the one that's air. For me, it's fire and Sag. But basically like one very dynamic, very social side, and then one very introverted homebody side. So the water, the Cancer side, it can be difficult. And then when we combine your ascendant, which is also Cancer, um, it has you seen by other people, and your personality is going to be a lot more Cancerian. It's going to be a lot more, you're going to be really affected a lot by the lunar cycles. I always tell people with a lot of Cancer to journal, if they haven't already. Follow like what sign the moon's in. Do it for a few months and just see if you can find some interesting results, right? Like, for example, when the moon's in Scorpio, I feel this way. The moon's in Capricorn, I feel this way, right? But anyways, so I was talking about this in a video recently about Cancer, and how people, I've come across a lot of Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon people, and you could use this as a blanket statement that everybody who has a better upbringing is better off, generally, right? But for the sign of Cancer, and especially since you have your Chiron there, that usually indicates some type of pain or feeling misunderstood by the family. Um, and South Node there, there's and with a sun and ascendant, there really is this push to escape, to not be held back by the family, and to probably leave, where you're from, and blaze your own path. But what I was gonna say is that I've seen like the craziest just like difference between the cancers, like very Cancer Sun and Moon people who had very good mom and dad upbringing, and the ones that didn't. And it's not that they're bad people, it's just, or immoral. It's just that like it just affects them so much. So your chart with your moon, it's on that. Well, it has, yeah, quincunx Pluto. Sun is opposite Neptune and Uranus, so we'll get into that in a second. But basically, is that rain? No. Basically, yeah, like it's so important for someone with this type of combination to understand that they need, they need to really, really feed both mouths, right? They need to feed the water Cancer mouth, um, give themselves alone time, have something in their life where they're, nurturing, kids, or a career that gives one that. But it's really important for you not to be too hard on yourself on an emotional level. Um, that's something, and also like a big message here. It's so hot. um is, in different past lives karmically with the south node in Cancer on the sun. Well, that means a lot of different things. So south node on the sun, the first house, is pretty crazy. Like that's intense. That the symbolism that I would come up with that would be, that's like king energy, um having the sun on your south node indicates that you have a prior incarnation that you're dealing with in this one, where you were famous, or just you were a big deal, right? Like you first house, right, is all about you. Um and what can happen with like south node Leo people, or people with sun on the south node, is that sometimes they can come into this life and not be born into circumstances like where they're really rich or whatever, and their soul still feels on some level like they deserve things, right? There's like some entitlement sometimes. It's almost like the soul has conscious memories of being given, or just like being praised and all that, right? I mean, I have the same thing with south node Leo. So, you know also karmically, it would indicate to me that your north node is opposite your sun. So your north node in, which represents your with Neptune, which represents, and Uranus, more Neptune in Capricorn in the seventh. There's a lot to break down there. North node is like your destiny. It's like where, the path you're trying to take in this lifetime to get to your highest potential. So when the south node, which is the been there done that in past lives, that you're trying to use the talent of the north node, um right, the innate talent there to get yourself to the north node, right, using the south node talent. But hold on. But yeah, so um the sun is the ego, right? The sun is the ego. And it's very interesting that it's in the sign of Cancer, because it's not a very egotistical sign. However, it's in the first house of Aries, and it's the sun, which represents Leo. So it's like a mix of Leo, Cancer. That's like some queen energy, I swear. Like that's like a queen energy right there, because you have the feminine. Hold on. Grab the water bottle. Yeah, I mean, when you put all that stuff together, like that's very queen vibes. Queen vibes. Um, God, I'm trying to get comfortable at this desk. I have this kind of weird chair. Like I have so many different places. I like to do readings on my bed, but on beds in general. Then I have the couch. I don't know. You can't really see much. And then I have the terrace. You probably can't see it all. It has an amazing view of Medellin, but you probably can't see. But yeah, I can't really do it out there. This desk is, I guess, the best thing I have. Anyways, um, but yeah, sorry, I have to keep moving. I'm just trying to find that right spot. I don't know if this is the best. Whatever. So yeah, basically, it's very clear that with the sun, with the south node, in the first house in Cancer, that you're trying to move towards the seventh house, which it makes me think of a lifetime where you were very powerful. And I don't want to like say what it was, like what you were doing, just power. And because of your circumstances, it was very much about you. Um, Now, what's interesting too is that Chiron in your first house in this lifetime, I wonder if you ever felt like, and sorry, not sorry, but I close my eyes sometimes. A lot of times I'll like literally close the camera because I just feel weird, but sometimes I just don't care. But yeah, I was gonna say, like, I wonder if there's almost some of that energy that you had that you came in this life with, and it kind of gave you this feeling of like, there's something special for me in this life that maybe your family members didn't feel, and maybe you felt very misunderstood by them. And with the oppositions there, especially the Uranus and Neptune opposite Sun. And I don't remember where you live at all. I don't think I think I because I've had quite a few people from Philippines lately, so I'm not remembering if you're the one who moved to U.S. or Canada, I think. But um, with Uranus opposite Sun, it could indicate someone who has like a very special life purpose, and they're not meant to just be in this traditional way. But then when you have that Chiron in Cancer, it's like, just, yeah, it's just really like most of the pain is from the family not seeing you, but a lot of that can be overcome by just accepting, like, I am who I am. And you know sometimes when we stop trying to push people to understand us and to value us, to care about what we've discovered, right? Like, people go their whole lives trying to, prove to their dad or their mom like their value. And then it's like, sometimes it's like when they stop trying and they just give up, then it actually comes. I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying that the Chiron energy there, that's a lot of times it plays out like that. But anyways, back to my main point. So you're leaving the Sun first house and you're going to the Neptune seventh house with Uranus. So what could this mean? Well, there's definitely a lot of letting go of ego. Now, I'm not saying you're an egotistical, narcissistic person. I'm not saying that at all, right? What I'm saying is that a lot of times when people have soul memories of being very high up in certain ways societally, it can be very, it can almost be like a a curse, I guess. Like, it can be tough, and they can sometimes, it can be difficult, for them to just accept life the way it is. And I think that there's lots of dimensions. Like, one thing about Cancer South Node is that sometimes they rely too much on other people. Um, that's like with a lot of Capricorn North Node people. They, it's almost like they're here to become their own metaphorical fathers. But with Neptune, that's the planet of spirituality, right? That's the planet of imagination, of inspiration, of selfless service to humanity. So that's almost like, it's like you're here to become your own metaphoric, your own personal guru, right? And like, going from Sun to Neptune is literally going from ego to spirit. Like, there's no better explanation or no better way of showing it. Now, we can't just look at the planets. We have to also, and then also, well, with the planets, Uranus is there too. So with Uranus, that's about leaving behind past life tendencies of wanting to fit in, of needing to fit in, or of like just like kind of projecting yourself in that very first house way, where it's like, you know, it's really about, like, it's a very independent, very strong personality. And you still have that. You're a first house Sun. But but with Uranus in the North Node, it's like, it's about being okay with being weird, being okay with being eccentric, being okay with not everyone, with doing things in a different way than other people, right? The road less traveled. So now when we talk about Cancer, um, or even when we talk about, Cancer Capricorn, like I was saying, like Cancer, the Cancer South nodes, they sometimes rely too much on, other people. Sometimes they have problems, issues when it comes to, oh shit, to moving out. Like, I've seen Cancer South nodes who, I don't think it's like this for you because of your aspects, but I've seen it where they're just really, really attached to their family and they like have problems when it comes to separating from their family later in life. Like I've seen that a good amount. Um, so but Capricorn is a very, it's even though it's an Earth sign, it's still very much about masculinity in the sense of like, yeah, like I said, being your own medical metaphorical father and taking risks and building structures, foundations, and really being brave, working hard. So the fact that it's the first house south node and seventh house north node, that's about relationships. And that would indicate that in past lives you were a little bit, I don't want to use the word selfish. Um, I guess what I would say, like my idea of it is that you were someone who was very self-involved in the sense that, like, think about a celebrity today who is just so busy, and it's in Cancer, so it could have literally been in a very compassionate, like maybe you were Gandhi or something. I don't know. Um, but my point is that regardless of what led to that, you didn't give enough compromise in your relationships, right? There wasn't enough compromise. So in this lifetime, part of your karmic mission is to allow yourself to enter relationships, which it's in Capricorn. So there's still that need to have very strong foundations to the relationships. You've got your love planet, Venus conjunct Mars. Very nice. I had that too. But you mine are in Aquarius, yours are in Leo. Oh, opposites. Another thing we have in common. Damn. But yeah, so basically Leo in love, right? That can sometimes, I guess the shadow of Leo is kind of, it's all about me, blah blah blah. The beautiful part of Leo is the loyalty, the courage, and it can be very romantic, but it wants to be very proud of its partner. Um, it wants the partner to be proud of them too. So more on that later. But with seventh house north node people, it can feel challenging because they want, like, especially when your sun, which is the core essence of who you are, is in the first house, and your ascendant is also obviously Cancer with your south node. So it's like it comes very naturally to you to be in this first house Cancerian way, right? Um, the key is to understand what's low Cancer and what's high Cancer. High Cancer in the context of relationships is the balance between codependency is one extreme, and the other extreme of like hyper independence. Like I'm not gonna, like my way or the highway. I'm not gonna compromise at all. So, and what's Venus? Okay, yeah. So that's it's very interesting. Um, Also, Cancer sometimes can get really, really, like when they've been hurt in relationships, they can just shut themselves down. Um, and it can be really, really hard for them to be vulnerable and trust after they've been hurt. And that's one of the missions a lot of times for Cancers. It's when they've had that first heartbreak or whatever, can they trust again? It's very sad when they don't allow that to happen. So there's certain parts of your chart that are interesting. I think I think the sun opposite Neptune. Or should I go there? Or should I go with the moon first? I'm gonna turn this off. Yeah. So okay. So let's talk about your moon, right? Because as I was saying, your moon is very dynamic. So you've got to feed both. So Gemini moons, they need adventure. They need socializing. They need to be, you know, they have this curiosity and this hunger for experience. They need to always be doing something else. But the shadow of it is when they're unable to be happy and like kind of grass is greener on the other side type energy, right? So it's really important for Gemini moons. Also, Gemini moons, because it's a Mercury ruled moon, can be very anxious. They often struggle with overthinking and with anxiety. Um, so with the moon being in the 12th house, it's a very karmic placement for the moon. Now, it definitely has very, very psychic and intuitive aspects to it. Now, also, it's definitely made for someone who, is meant to be of service in their life in some way. Um, Life gets a lot easier for a 12th house moon when they're, being of service in some way. But an air moon, generally on an emotional level, they prefer intellect and logic over emotions, right? So, and they love to communicate. They have a deep need to communicate with other people around them. In relationships, they need a partner who they have an intellectual connection with, where there's an ability in fights to get places. Like sometimes Gemini moons are like the best lawyers and they're very good arguers, very smart, right? And I think a lot of that intelligence comes from that curiosity they have, right? Um, and they want to learn about everything often. Sometimes what they do is that it's like jack of all trades, master of none, right? So it's important once, Gemini moon is meant to explore the world. It's meant to, well, even though it rules like the immediate environment, it still is meant to explore. Um, and it has such an active mind, but when it's so active and moving so fast, it can create anxiety, right? And just this constant thinking and processing of information, and it can really make someone overwhelmed. So I think every Gemini moon should definitely be meditating, doing sports, whatever it is that calms you down, right? Going on walks, whatever, right? And I think when it comes to career, a Gemini moon, 12th house could be like a nurse, it could be someone who does something, more behind the scenes. Um, Being a Cancer, I think the perfect career combining those two would be something like that, right? Um, where there is a level of anonymity to it. Um, Although the thing about Gemini is that there's just so much, like they have so much like ability and diversity in what they're able to do. So yeah. Um, I always say Gemini moons, like I remember when I was doing readings during COVID, it's like, even though Cancer is a very deep sign, I was like, I had a lot of Gemini moon clients, and I would tell them, I'd be like, you Gemini moons are probably the ones that have like the most difficult time during COVID, because Gemini moons sometimes they actually enjoy small talk, like they like conversating. It gives them joy, right? It's not to say that they're not deep people. It's just that they're able to be very good at networking and all that, right? They can really do well with like lighthearted conversations. Um, but then the Cancer side might be a lot deeper. So it's like kind of the balance between the two, right? So what else? Yeah, I would say air moons are, they're just very social, very good socially, very good at getting kind of getting along with whoever. And I think emotions can be difficult for a Gemini moon. They have effort to feel their emotions. Because an air moon, I always say this, like you have a Cancer and a Gemini moon. The same thing happens to both. The Cancer moon might cry about it in that moment and kind of release the energy. The Gemini moon might hold on to it for 7 months and then realize, oh shit, that thing that happened hurt me, you know? So it's just important. Um, it's important to find ways that you can really get in touch with your emotions, right? Now, the thing is that you have enough Cancer to where I don't really worry about that. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because I think of the ascendant, moon, sun, and moon as an egg. The ascendant is a shell, what people see. The sun is the white, and the moon is the yolk, the yellow. So it's Cancer, Cancer, Gemini, right? So people definitely see you as this very deep and caring and sensitive person. And when they get to know you better, they become very surprised by the dynamism, right? And Gemini moons usually like when they're stressed, they like to just like have fun and use humor, like kind of just release tension and in that type of way, right? So like I think not really for you, but for most Gemini moons, it's difficult to date like very emotionally led people, because Gemini moons just like to keep things light, Um, so Gemini rules your hands, so you can get emotional fulfillment through playing guitar or video games or anything that is with your hands. Um, but really, it's about breath work is really what's really important. Because of that nervous energy, having mindfulness and using breath work is like one of the best, two of the best things you can do. And I think you can judge where you're at. Like I said, lots of Gemini moons are all over the place or unorganized because and it's like if they're like their rooms can be very very unorganized, but it's totally linked to where they're at, like mentally. Um, so if they can clean things up mentally, then yeah, then it's good. And then you can kind of tell a lot of a Gemini moon by how clean they are. Um, but like you know what I mean? Like if the mind is always rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, and they're just trying this and trying that and trying this and trying that, lots of mood changes also, right? Um, yeah, so just like taking things slow is the key. Um, but yeah, I think it's just so talented because it creates such a genuine curiosity about people. And as you know, like whether it's in business, whatever it's in, if you're genuinely interested in people, that's going to get you a lot of places. And it gives great communication skills too. So it's really good for networking, any kind of career with communication, anything obviously related to like, writing, reading, you know, even media, marketing, whatever, all those types of things are really, really good. Anything where you need people skills, you'll be great there. Now, the thing is, when you mix it with your midheaven in Pisces at 28 Pisces, that makes me think that your career with Neptune in the seventh, that is more of like a psychologist, right? Or someone that works with clients in a spiritual type of way. So I would be surprised if, you had multiple things going on. A lot of Gemini moons do. Um, Now, when it comes to love, detachment is a big issue. Like I said earlier, grass is greener on the other side type energy. Um, so a lot of times people with this moon, they grew up in an environment where their emotions weren't allowed. They just, they're kind of denied from feeling their emotions. So that's something that has to kind of be learned, right? And a lot of times they, were it's just especially with the Neptune. opposite sun, like it just creates difficulty with them truly seeing themselves for who what they are. Um, so yeah. What else? Yeah, like out of any moon sign, like Gemini moon and Aquarius moon would be the two that would be more open to like a more alternative type of relationship. But Cancer is not like that, and Leo is not like that. So I doubt you're like that. But yeah, it really is about the intellectual connection over everything. Like it's like with Gemini moons, it's like their partners have to be their best friends, right? So yeah. Mm, mm, mm. So yeah, I think like most Gemini moon women, they want like, yeah, they just want like a funny, witty, smart partner. Um, Someone who's like an adventure buddy. Okay, enough about that. So the main aspect it makes is the quincunx of Pluto. So that's when they're 150 degrees away. So basically with that, it is um it definitely gives pretty intense, powerful emotions, Moon, Pluto, like Moon in Gemini, 12th house, it can kind of create these cycles that one goes in until they actually accept responsibility for whatever they need to accept responsibility for, and they make changes. And that comes from the awareness of whatever that is. Um, but yeah, any moon Pluto hard aspect, there's a lot of really intense emotions and there's a lot of emotional swings, even if it's like in a usually non-emotional sign of not very emotional sign of Gemini. So it can bring very dark feelings, and it can create this need to let go. And if a lot of people, they either let go or they have control issues, right? So there can be lots of like different fears, different anxieties, and yeah, like a lot of times it's things that are like overwhelming for a child, right? They have to kind of go back in the childhood and find whatever these traumas are. um but often it is severe emotional trauma, you know uh, associated with the family. So um especially with the first house sun with south node with sun, intuitively I'm feeling like your family, there's probably some jealousy of you in your own family. If not there, it's there's that there's that I definitely feel this jealousy, especially with your Leo energy. Now remember, I don't know anything about what you look like, I don't know anything about you, but like I feel like people are jealous of you. I feel like you have some real pizzazz, like you have some real like like you're like the way that you're able to do things and kind of get through life, it's very creative, and I feel like people get jealous of it. But that is more of me intuition than or just yeah than something I'm seeing. um hmm I'm gonna say this, and you don't have to tell me, or you didn't get a follow-up, did you? If you want to add a follow-up, let me know. I highly suggest follow-up and current astrology. It's like very magical. I just had someone write me saying that it was more powerful than 3 years of therapy. I just developed a new technique, a new predictive technique. It's fucking powerful as fuck. Um, and I use like all the techniques I know, and yeah, just let me know, and I could give you like a better price for the two. But yeah. So, anyways, that's a live reading. It's 3 hours. Yeah, it's either the follow up is just 1 hour. We talk all about this, and most people, they do follow up and current. And yes, usually around 3 hours. So, anyways, I'm gonna say this. I've seen the Pluto moon. Sometimes there's like some it's see, I don't like really talking about sexual stuff because I'm a straight male and you know, like but at the same time I don't feel that weird because like I don't even like know what you look like. Um or I don't like that's you know what I mean? Like I don't have like a like I purposely like don't like I won't do a reading if I have an image in my head of what that person's energy is like or what they look like or anything, you know? Um, so that's why it's like a little bit more chill. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna say like the Pluto moon is interesting sexually. There can be lots of taboos. There can be like different sexual secrets that people want to keep from close friends. Um, and there can be guilt around that, right? Like, and people have told me about these things. And I'm not saying this is always the case, right? But it's just something that, yeah, that I've seen. So when it comes to relationships, feeling emotionally supported and accepted is very important, especially from your mother. And it's really important to like have a partner or friends that when you start to feel any kind of destructive emotions, you can, share them all your deepest feelings. So it kind of gives you like a Scorpio vibe to your moon a little bit, right? Because a lot of times like things can kind of escalate really, really fast. And it gives you this also this really deep psychological understanding of humans and just relationship dynamics and kind of it would really help in any kind of career that is about uncovering secrets, the esoteric, occult psychology. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Um, anyways, so moon in the 12th, right? We have to talk about that. So the 12th house is very intense. It's a house of self undoing, but it can also be like a very strong house. Um, so it's really the house of the unknown, right? Mysteries, the collective unconscious, isolation, right? So a lot of different things. It's linked with Pisces and Neptune. So um a lot of times with a moon in the 12th house, nearly always the mother was missing in some way, either physically or metaphorically. And with Pluto, yeah, there could be some trauma there. And most people with that, they have to really learn to take care of themselves, which actually makes sense with your North Node in Capricorn. Like I said, becoming your own metaphoric father or parents, it's a better way of putting it. So it's not an easy placement, but it's very spiritual. And um, you know, it can make someone quite unaware of their emotions or the exact opposite or extremely aware. But there can be a tendency from a young age to repress very important emotions, which is not good. And with the Pluto aspect, later on, in life, your one of your lessons is to learn to, feel everything, to go with the death, rebirth, transformation, and all that. Um, oh my hand, Jesus, arm. Um, so sometimes people with this can be loners and they can spend too much time alone. Like they definitely need time alone because they take in energy so they just like intuitively grasp so much for good and bad. So like, who you live with, who you work with, where you live, what you do, all these things are really, really important, right? But then it makes you such a good healer too. But also, it can make emotional boundaries. It's excuse me. It's so important to set up strong emotional boundaries and to be able to communicate your needs very directly, right? Um, and that's kind of one of the keys to the relationships with that, right? But yeah, usually 12th house moon people, even with Gemini moon, I would say it's like they're usually quite private, but like with Gemini, I would kind of push that away a little bit. And there's like there can be this real, with all the cancer, desire to escape reality, right? So it's like escaping the problems by running away from them. So there's this like this need to retreat from the world every now and then, but it's about like a balance of like not overdoing it, right? So like spending time on your own to kind of refresh your own energy is really important, and you find peace through solitude, right? um Also, yeah, like having an artistic passion is really, really good, helps with the emotions there. And the biggest thing, like I said, is taking care of people who are suffering. That's really what, fighting for the underdogs in the world, and that literally heals you. So it's like people like with this often felt really misunderstood, and when they're able to help other people, it heals their own inner child. And I've seen this in countless people's lives, just be game changers. Lots of people like doing psychology, counseling, all that kind of stuff. But one of the pitfalls is if they're giving all their energy to other people and they go towards that burnout, right? So like boundaries there is really important too. So as I was saying, with Sun opposite um, Neptune and Uranus, and also like before that, like going back to like the nodal stuff at the start, Neptune conjunct the North Node is really, yeah, it's just so important, and it's really about like seventh house. It could be about having a very spiritual, deep relationship, like a dreamy relationship, right? Um, it could also just be about having clients that you help on a spiritual level. Um, but really, it's saying that your destiny lies away from the ego and towards this compassion. So it's another there's a lot of clues already of you being meant to do something to help people. So that's how I see it. Now, Sun Neptune hard aspects are tough because oftentimes a person has, especially when they're young, self-esteem issues, and they can turn in, all these things can turn into very, very amazing things, right? They can turn in, at aspects turn into assets if when people work on themselves. Um, and it's making you so empathetic, so caring. But it can create this sort of lack of confidence, especially if the father, or just parents in general, we're not giving you compliments, right? And yeah, I mean, it's just really, really sensitive, and it's like it can be like the main word I would associate with Sun Neptune is identity issues and problems seeing the self clearly. Everyone else can see you in a certain way, but the Neptune Sun person, it's like they have to work really hard. And that's why another clue, of being of service when like, that's the healing the inner child. I've seen this so many fucking times. People who have charts like this, right? People who have like very Neptunian charts who have their life in this shamble. And it might not be like in a complete shamble. I mean, you're a first house Sun. You have a strong personality. You have an ability to be a great leader, right? You could be great at business. You're very capable, but it could be something more energetic. And I've seen so many people who like they kind of disrupt this cycle by by doing something different, right? By letting go of the need to like always be making the most money and doing this and that and flexing on Instagram and whatever. And yeah, I've seen insane things. Like this one ex of mine, she was a wreck. And she, she had a bunch of 12th house, and like she was just in this constant circle, like it was like, and then she started getting into spirituality and kind of like changed her life completely. And now it's just like, and I can think of like 10 people like that, but hers was just an extreme one, So yeah, it's pretty cool to see that when people do that. I just got this jersey today. It's pretty cool. Colombia. I like it. Anyways, yeah. So it's really important with Neptune. Like what can happen with Neptune opposites is that there can be it can be like someone who's super unconfident or who masks it all and becomes very narcissistic, right? Um, I've seen it work both ways. But really the core of it is finding ways, whether it's through creativity, whether it's through, you know, for example, like I always say, make videos of yourself. Neptune rules cameras, um, creative outlets, working in a way, like I said, that helps people, like things like that. That could be the game changer. Um, but like not relying on drugs and mind altering substances, because that's something that can definitely happen. This escapism, right? So really, when you can dive into your spiritual gifts, that's like the best, right? Um, spiritual slash artistic. But yeah, like a lot of times on another level, it can create like just like a very distorted perspective of the self, you know. Um, and just like going back and forth between the dream world, the imagination world, and the material world. So and I think another big part of it with the Pluto is facing your fears and allowing yourself to grow. And I think when it comes to the father, oftentimes, you know, it is a first house sun, but oftentimes, like just relationships in general are marked by confusion and misunderstandings, right? Um, so like that can just be really difficult and it can create isolation. Now you do have all that Leo energy, which is very, very social, right? Um, I'd be surprised if you had like, you know, like I would, if I had to, like, I would be surprised if you struggled in the love department, like, you know, like at least when, like in the sense of like having partners, I'd be surprised, but you never know. But yeah, I would say that Neptune's sun sometimes it can just create an energy with the father where there's yeah, like it's almost like the father may have had like in the first house like a strong maybe there was a strong some strong kind of gift to your personality, but then also Neptune does represent kind of absence. So yeah. Yeah, like people with Neptune sun, like I've seen people just like create their own problems like out of nowhere. And it's like just overthinking things. So that goes back to Gemini moon. And the best way that you can get out of that mental emotion, like just intellectualization of the emotions is service. And I don't say this to everyone. You can watch some. I don't post a lot of my readings. I'm not going to post this one. Um, but you know, I don't say this a lot because I understand that the world is not, we don't live in a world where it's like everyone is supposed to be a fucking healer, you know? Like, but when I say healer, I don't mean an astrologer. Like, you can do whatever that means to you, right? It could even be a personal thing. It's just a shift of awareness, a shift internally to spirituality where you're not blaming other people, where it's really about more so taking accountability and being very, very honest. So yeah, sun opposite Uranus, like I said, like people you're born in Manila. I Yeah, like people with sun square or opposite Uranus, like they nearly always move out really, really early from their parents. It's not always necessarily that they have a bad relationship with them, but they just really want to start their life and they want to be independent. A lot, oftentimes they do just, like I've seen a lot of it where it's like the relationships improves a lot with the parents and with the family when they get away, but they're very rebellious and they don't like constraints. And they have a very special and unique life purpose that might not be able to be manifested if they just stay in that Cancer, South Node, staying with the family, staying with the tribe, staying with what's known. They're meant to kind of discover something new. Um, Very rebellious person. Um, and it's kind of like whenever you put your mind to something, you can just fucking go, right? But then there are aspects of your chart that can kind of push you away and kind of make you self sabotage. So that's all about the self esteem and just making sure you're not taking too big of risks and being too erratic, right? Um, like too changing all the time, right? So that just goes back to the need for self moderation, mindfulness, all that. But like this is a great one for someone who's down to live a life that's just different and who needs freedom, who hates restrictions, and that would also show in their work and in their relationships, right? And you have Uranus in the seventh house, so it's like that. If we can jump to relationships right now, um, that's someone who Venus and Leo, Mars and Leo, right? Sometimes the Venus Mars conjunction, they can be very relationship oriented, which is actually good for your chart, right? But and even Pluto in the fifth house can create like very, very intense, like I don't like to say one night stands, but just the initial stages of the dating process. It can be very transformational. So there could have been like, periods like people that relationships that didn't last that long, maybe a few weeks or maybe even less, but that were super transformational. But Venus and Leo, it really wants to well actually, with the Venus Regulus, I think that can, there's a lot of really negative stuff about it on the internet, but I just don't trust that. To me, it's more like it's a royal star, and you just have to watch out for people being jealous of you. Um, did I found something really good. I'm trying to remember. I searched like Venus. What was it? Venus. It was very like simple. Was it this? Let's see. I think it was here. Yeah, so it says points to a person with amazing creativity. These people are amazing dressers and they have the ability to impress people. These people are very passionate lovers, and once loved by them, love won't feel the same to you anymore. It can indicate negatively someone who can become obsessed with themselves, a person who thinks themselves above everyone else. It can also lead to some self-esteem issues, which is very interesting because like that is the shadow of your chart, is the narcissist, like the potential for narcissism or for like being too self-involved, too much of like the taking, not enough the giving. Now, like I said, you are a fucking Cancer, so don't like everything is potential. You could be the complete opposite, right? And that's why we, you know, should have the follow up, and you can do that whenever you want. But that's kind of how we put everything together. Um, hold on, hold on. It's funny because I'm like Regulus rising, and I was just looking at what they were saying about it for me. It's kind of similar. It's just like this can be a person a person who looks very radiant. These people could be very popular in their community, but for the way they carry themselves, very confident, generous personality. These people turn heads whenever they're around. I don't know about that. Who knows? Negative aspects can indicate a person who might be very obsessed with the way they look. They could also point to a person who might what? Okay, whatever. That's a good article about it. Thank God I found one. Then there's another one that was cool too. Where is it? Where the is this shit? Okay. Whatever. Whatevs. Okay. Anyways, so yeah. And then Venus and Leo, it's all about loyalty, right? And they want they want to give and love. Um, yeah, like I was saying, like Venus and Mars, it's like, yeah, sometimes they can just come on too strong and have too high of expectations for partners, and they can like want that person. Like sometimes it's not everyone that will reciprocate with that level of energy. With Pluto in the fifth, it can be, like I said, very intense. But then when you add more of that energy, Mars and Leo is also, it's a, your Mars is with, it's with Venus. So it's like in a fire sign. And that adds a lot of kind of passion and aliveness, right? And someone who likes to share their adventures with their loved ones. And um yeah, it's just really that high expectations that can sometimes lead to like the disappointments in relationships. And this goes to your seventh house Neptune, right? Seventh house Neptune people, a lot of the time, the amount of times I talk to people with it, it's like you have to be super careful when you enter relationships because they'll be very karmic, right? Um, all your relationships will be very karmic. You have Juno with North Node, seventh house. Um, but they can, I would be very surprised if there wasn't the potential of you meeting someone and you think like, oh, this is my twin flame. Maybe when you were, younger or whatever, you're still young, but you know what I mean. And just kind of realizing after some time, like this isn't it. So it's very romantic, it's very idealistic, but it's like rose colored glasses and love energy. So it's just really important to stay grounded and to have a friend that you can talk to. And you might be married, who knows. But having a friend that you can talk to in the process, who kind of has that like grounded energy and who can just kind of tell you from like a very objective, rational perspective. I think that's really important. Now, Uranus in the seventh is very interesting, because Uranus is the planet that is about freedom, right? So when it's in the seventh house, and it kind of goes along with your Gemini moon, right? Where it's like, yeah, you have like all these, like, this Cancer, which is very touchy, feely, wants to be close, wants to have the family, wants to have the secure home. And then you have, the Leo, which is, it wants to have fun. Another thing about your Leo Venus and your Leo Mars is that you need to have a partner that feels like it's like your best friend and you feel like you can be your inner child. Because remember, a lot of your chart is about inner child healing. So you can't be with someone who's just boring and bland and depressing. Um, and yeah, even Jupiter and Leo, I love that conjunct. And yeah, you have 4 planets in Leo, so it's like in the second house. So that's really, really good for making money. And that's actually a very good thing for self-esteem. Actually, Jupiter second house, I call it the financial guardian angel. The amount of people, it's very good for income. And then Venus there too. Oh man, I would be very surprised if you had money problems. Very surprised. I mean, you money problems can always come based on different transits, but long term, like there's nothing to fucking worry about. If there is, then tell me, because Venus and fucking Jupiter and Mars in the third, like that's like the hustler. That's like the person that can manifest money really well. But the thing is, if one is too obsessed with money, that's when things get bad. So it's about understanding the metaphysical value and having very strong spiritual values, right? But yeah, Jupiter there is abundant, great for income. And Jupiter and Leo they're just very smiley, good people. I love that Leo that Jupiter placement. They're like they're usually it's really really good for kind of being the inner child. So yeah. But anyways, back to love, right? Like as I was saying before, Uranus, it definitely has that need of it basically makes someone need more space in relationships, and it makes someone need more like a more alternative type of relationship. Things can get boring fast. That's why I always talk about energetic breaks in relationships. But yeah, it's funny how at the start of the reading I was talking about like you probably feeling you had this like special creative purpose since you were young. Well, Pluto in the fifth house, that's how I see it. I see it as someone who comes in this lifetime feeling like they have like a very special creative purpose and they need to go out and achieve it. And also they can when they find things that they're usually quite good at having fun. Even though the fifth house is ruled by Scorpio, but has the ruling planet in there. But it's just more so about just this powerful need to express your creativity and your inner child. So yeah, but like another thing about fifth house, Pluto. I know it is. Hold on. Another thing about fifth house Pluto is just how that can also be one where it can be like this excessive need for attention, right? That's how it can manifest. Can, keyword can. So yeah. And then with children, I would say I don't really like using the fifth house for children, but it can definitely make someone a little bit, as a parent, a little bit dominant and kind of have some interesting karma. But it can also make like just the whole experience of having children very, very transformative. Um, but yeah, I imagine so your Mercury's with Jupiter, so that is someone who is just like usually a very, very good communicator who's good at explaining the whole perspective and really, really just like this thirst for knowledge, and they're able to really see, like I said, like they have big ideas, big plans. They like to learn a lot and they like to teach. And they're usually with Leo, they're usually quite proud of what they've learned. And they have this exuberance about kind of taking a lot. Like the main thing is that 12th house moon, right? And being able to stabilize that emotional Gemini energy. Once that's done, I think a lot is very, very chilled out in this chart. Um, but yeah, I guess with relationships, there's just a lot going on there. And I think it really because like even Black Moon Lilith is on the descendant. So, that could really that could kind of this, be about someone um mm, just like never really being satisfied when it comes to their major relationships. And like even with Neptune there too, it can that can also be like no one's ever good enough, right? Keyword can be. So yeah, it's just like the goal is and like with Gemini moon, like I said, it can be like grass is green on the other side. So it can be difficult to be like stable in one relationship. But it's usually linked to like the parents' relationship, if especially if it was difficult. Um, so it's almost like there's like a projection in the relationship area. And then Black Lilith and Capricorn can be someone who just like, is it's all about, who likes to be in control in relationships in seventh house, right? Um, and you know, it can be like, yeah, imposing their will on other people. So yeah, it's just like a lot, and yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, there's just this energy with your seventh house where it opposes your first house, and it's just like about finding the balance between giving and taking, and it really just takes the right type of partner, right? Um, and of course, you can't have someone that meets all of that, but And your life goal isn't that. It's not like no one's life goal is just to have a relationship. That's part of life. But like, you could literally look at the North Node with Neptune as the karmic goal is for you to be helping people, for you to be taking, okay, here it is. Check this out. Taking your past life skills that maybe like on the emotional level, the intuitive, empath, spiritual, esoteric level, you didn't use, but you had. Like maybe you were like a queen who was like super into like spirituality, but hid it. You're meant to take that energy and help people within this lifetime and learn to not give a shit about what other people think of you. And yeah, your midheaven is my sun and my Mercury, and you know what I represent. I represent an astrologer. So you could be an astrologer, you could be someone who's very spiritual, and it's a mutable midheaven. So it's like that's someone who could have many different careers throughout their life as they grow and they change. But yeah, as I was saying about Jupiter's second house, I've literally like I coined it as the financial guardian angel. Um, and I've told people this before, and I've had multiple people be like, "Holy shit! Like this literally just happened to me." I'm not even joking. Where I'm like, "Okay, you lost your job, and then 2 weeks later, you didn't freak out. Your friend calls you, says that their company's hiring. You get the job, you interview well, and then it's like better pay, better people working with you, better work-life balance, all that stuff." And the reason when I see these types of energies here, and then Mars, the second house, is the hustler, it's the go-getter, right? It's the person that's able that, and then Mars and Leo, when it comes to working out, like it gives you like a very good superpower. It's actually very good for assertiveness. So with all the stuff with boundaries, this is a part of your chart that's very good for that. Um, but like a lot of people with that, they equate power with money and possessions. And if that's what you're if you're doing that, that's when the karma can be difficult and there can be, you know, it can have it can have a negative effect on that. Um Also let's be real. Leo energy can be a little bit dramatic. I love Leo, by the way, as you can tell, I'm Leo, rising, south node, fifth house moon. But um, you know, I would say that the goal is authentic self-expression. So running away from conditioning and being your own person. And the metaphysical value more than the physical value. So a few more things. Because yeah, you really don't have many aspects. Interesting. Let me see with Venus actually. Mm-mm. Is that an opposition? Yeah. Well, okay, so you have okay, Mercury opposite Saturn. Interesting. So usually people with that, so this could actually be someone who, you know, was shut down for their belief systems were shut down early on. I get it, so many clients that have this, right? Where they get kind of like maybe they had like a communication issue and they had like a very critical father or just like teacher, something that made them really like feel like they lacked intelligence. And then as an adult, they can make them very shy and kind of like high, like feel like, okay, like the way I think, the way I speak, there's something wrong with it. And they kind of, it's like this spiritual journey to like trust that they're smart and that their way of thinking was just more advanced, right? So that is, yeah, that's the third tough aspect. And I wanted to actually check one thing. Ooh. So yeah, you have an out of bounds moon. Yeah. So out of bounds moon, a lot of serial killers have it. It's like it's actually something I was listening to lately. But it just means that your moon is like with the declination is so low that it's just completely on it's just not touched by anything. It has free reign. So people with that sometimes can be very emotionally erratic, especially as a Gemini moon. Um, Interesting. Yeah. That's the first time I've checked that in a while for people. I stopped checking it. Um, but I guess what I would say is like it's just this feeling of being an outsider. And when you add the Neptune energy there, it can definitely feel that way. So yeah. Um let's see here. I'm trying to find something by the way. Yeah, I guess what I would say out of bounds moon, it's just like it's out of the reign of control of the sun, right? So it's like, very spontaneous, very liberated, very it's fun, and it can be very genius and very, very good, but sometimes it can be a little bit um it can think really, really big, feel really, really big. Um, but it really doesn't want, yeah, it usually doesn't want to play the games of society. You know what I mean? Like think of it out of bounds, right? It's like I do whatever the fuck I want. Um, but then it's like it can get into trouble. Actions have consequences. So it does bring back that need for groundedness. Um, so it's not good or bad. The dark side is, someone who's like criminal, like I said, or sociopathic, or just super selfish or insensitive or cold to other people and not feeling empathy. But then you luckily have that Cancer. Um, so I think of it as like having like kind of a more Aquarian quality, but it's already in Gemini, so it's similar. Um, but yeah, I would say just like not fitting in, being an outsider. So it just makes it like really, really important, um, to figure out. And we look at your 11th house in Taurus, right? Ruled by Venus, where, that's your friends. And that, I think that speaks to the importance of you having friends slash groups that you're a part of slash major life goals that really ground you and bring you to earth, because that's what Taurus is. um like friends you can go hiking with, right? Friends you can go in nature with, friends that you feel so calm around and that you can have a laugh, right? um have nice food, if you have an occasional drink or, you know wine or whatever, that's a very Taurus thing. Anything that engages the senses, right? So yeah. Other houses, sixth house is Sag, so and I want to see if there's any. Why does it not show declination? It's so annoying. I have to like go all over here. Oh shit. What the fuck? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Okay, so 22. Yeah, it's way out of bounds. So the sun is nearly out of bounds. It's close. It's not there. 22, 19, 11, 13, 16, 19. So 19. So that is probably Mercury. Yeah. So Mercury and Saturn, they're already square and they're contra parallel. 23, 18, Uranus, Sun. Yeah. So that one's already also for Chiron, Mars. Yeah. So, anyways, so one other thing about love, Juno's like your ideal partner, like long-term partner. It's in Aquarius, eighth house. Or excuse me, it's in Capricorn, seventh house. It's I'm talking about your Saturn here in the eighth house. Um, with that one, it's just really about wanting someone who you could build a very solid structure with, like taking things slow, having that very strong foundation, someone who takes things seriously. And with cancers, they care about material and emotional security. It's not in a gold digger way. They want to have a nice home. They want to have, like a Juno Capricorn is someone who cares about, it could be someone older, right? And someone who's, really willing to make compromises too. And it's like a partner who you can respect and who respects you, and where there's like this 1000% long-term commitment in there. Um, and seventh house Juno is someone who, yeah, like that's very linked to marriage. So, mhm, mhm, mhm. But yeah, at the same time, like with Uranus, it's like, yeah, unconventional relationships are needed with freedom. So being able to take breaks, like me with my girlfriend right now, I needed to get away. I need nothing against her. I just needed to have a break, and she understands that. I was like, I call it energetic break. It's so important, and you spend enough time away for a while. If it's possible, it's a game changer. Like I think that would save so many divorces if people would just, you know, not in a bad vibe at all, just be like, yo, sleep in. Like I think everyone, or not everyone, but I think people should sleep in different bedrooms. That's what I've always done. Have their own areas, their own lives. Still, obviously do things together, but yeah, it's weird. Love is weird. I'm not gonna get into that monologue right now. um, but yeah, sometimes it's like someone with like an unusual occupation, someone who just thinks differently, right? And it can even be someone like that you actually work with on a business level, but someone who like respects your need for freedom when you need it and who gives you it. Because as a 12th house moon, you do need alone time, as I said, or else you can kind of feel like you're going nuts. And I have a lot of the same stuff, so I can relate. Um, so yeah, Saturn, eighth house, and yeah, so Saturn, eighth house. Hold on one quick second. But yeah, I guess like Saturn, eighth house. I just need to open one email up, or I'll forget it. It's like to like my software. There's one thing, not for this reading, but for my current reading, that stopped working. I just need to like literally just, okay, got it. So yeah, so Saturn eighth house is interesting. There's usually like issues with in the first 30 years with intimacy and with opening up. It can be really, really uncomfortable to do that. Um, Now, once someone gets past the Saturn return, eighth house, and of course it's square Mercury, so there can be lots of shyness, especially around sexuality. Um, and there can be this, different fears with the unknown areas of life after death, stuff like that. Um, lots of usually there's lots of secrets beneath the surface, right? Like just kind of little things that really, really need to be transformed, like little fears, right? So a lot of times people with the eighth house Saturn, they're like very unaware of their fears. So um it's like really, really digging in to figure out what that is, what they are, right? Um mm, Also, one really cool thing about eighth house Saturn is that they live very long lives because Saturn is about length. It makes things longer. So eighth house is the house of death. So people with that, they live very long lives. So hmm, if you're from a family with like an inheritance, it's very like, or just like even like other people's money, whether it's through marriage or even working like as something like an investment banker. A lot of eighth house Saturn people, they like that process is pushed back till post 30. And like pretty much exactly where you are, your Saturn return. Um, but yeah, emotions like it can just be really tough to deal with intense emotions, right? Um, so past 30, person can be really, really good when it comes to like understanding the spiritual the kind of mysteries of life. Um, and they can get a lot better with that fear of intimacy, right? With sex and all that. But a lot of times they are restricted from those more like you know, I guess from like those partners that can really give them that experience or from that energy. Like literally the Saturn return changes your energy. That's another thing why you should definitely get the if you're able to the current astrology reading, because I can give you a Saturn, I can add a Saturn return reading in there too. Usually it's 350 for the session. Um, I think it's like 400 or 380 for the Saturn return added. I'd be happy to do it for 270 plus the Saturn return. So I'll just write that down right now, which is way way less. And I already gave you. I didn't say anything to you, um, but um, the amount, yeah, I guess it wasn't a big deal. It was, I think it was like 15. I think you, yeah, I think you paid 200 for this reading, but it was 215. But whatever, it's $15. Whatevs. But what did I just say? Was it 270 or 280? Let's just say 270. Two, let's just say 275 for current and Saturn return. And you can take as long as like it's not like one of those things where you have to like book it right away. Like you can take your time. People often watch these readings a lot. If you're serious about it and you really want to get the full experience, because you're not going to get someone who's going to give you a better reading than this. It's just not going to happen. Um, and that's just feedback I get, right? But the thing is that like each time you watch it, different layers will unveil themselves. So, um, yeah. But I think that like first time you just watch it through, second time, third time, however many, and you take your time and then you can message me. But I always think it's like if you're gonna get a reading with me, you might like, and I don't care. I'm not trying to be a salesman. This is not about money. It's like people spend like years in psychology, like they spend so much money on therapists. It's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but like a lot of them are just, they see you for an hour, you do no work. They're incentivized by keeping you there. Me, I help as many people as I can, as deep as I can. But there's something special about talking to someone for 3 hours, sometimes more. Um, I don't know. I can't explain it into words, but it's like the way I see it, it's like if you're gonna get the full me experience, like just go all the fuck in. If you can afford it, like 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 do it, because it's like it's once in a lifetime that you do it. And like I mean that's just how I think, I guess. Like for me, it's like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it all the way. But yeah, whatever. Um, and also I'll add that if you want to just do only the follow up, because that could be very good too. I'd be happy to do that one for 100 for just then that's like the hour where we talk about this. But I like people to talk to take good notes, because I like those to be client led, in the sense that we're comparing in the follow up, the first hour, we're comparing your lived experience, how you've lived your life, everything that was said. So I like when people take very, good notes. They don't have to. People can take mental notes too. And I always want to know the things I was wrong about, whatever like was not hitting, because that's how I learn. And I like to hear what I was right about, but like really I like to answer any questions and clear things up, because like I want you to walk away. I want everyone to walk away with the maximum amount of things that they can truly hold on to. I feel like people forget a lot, and that's why, you know, you're gonna have this reading forever. You know, it's not gonna disappear off YouTube. That's why I put them on YouTube, because people used to lose their readings so fucking much when I send them via email, and it was so time consuming. So, you know, like you'll watch this in 5 years and be like, God damn. It's trippy when people hit me up. Even me when I watch like readings that other people have done for me. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, so Saturn eighth house. Yeah, it's really just about that need to kind of take those risks as it relates to you know, sexuality, intimacy, commitment. Like people with this can really lack commitment. And sometimes even like it's weird with sexuality, it's like they can have a really high sex drive and be super promiscuous, or the opposite. um, but actually, like what the fuck what did I just say? Or the opposite? No, that was a really weird brain fart. I was trying to say that they can have that. Like I've seen people with that, but the reason is because they have that fear of intimacy. So it's like, okay, if I just have this one night stand, or this very like whatever loose, and I'm not like calling you a slut. Don't think that. Um, I'm just saying like I understand this shit. I used to be a little slut. Not really, actually, but I never ever used women ever. Um, it was always mutual, and um, I, I'm just giving you way too much information. This is way back in the day, though. But I was never like forceful, or I barely even hit on women. I preferred for them for it to be kind of mutual. But whatever, who cares? Just want to make myself seem like such a good person, but it's true actually. Um, so what else can I say? Oh yeah, okay. Another interesting thing about Saturn eighth house is that people can live in relationships, like live with people in relationships, um, where they feel like their partner just doesn't understand them. It's crazy, right? So, and sometimes like divorces can be really difficult. Like there can be like financial revenge, that type of stuff. So like the big thing here is going into your shadow, going into the hidden areas of your psyche, and facing them head on. And it always gets better post Saturn return. So you're in the clear now. But really, yeah, learning to deal with deep emotions. And like also with finances, it does give a talent for finances. Like I told you, it can first 30 years, it can create some difficulties, but it's really lots of like people who handle other people's money, bankers, all that stuff, because they have a very serious approach to money, and they have a very serious approach to metaphysics and all that, even though they could have a lot of fear around it for the first 30 years. But there are, definitely dangers of financial hardships for the first 30 years, whether it's like, taxes, loans, all that stuff. So it really is about just getting really serious with it. Um, Oftentimes, like, yeah, like it's common for people to be with eighth house Saturns to be like the breadwinners in relationships, even if they're females, or at least like where it's like kind of 50-50. But sometimes they have partners that kind of spend more, that are irresponsible financially. So it's really important to not, to be careful with that. And they can lose a lot of money in divorces. So it's important to like have, all the documentation, the legal stuff. Anything legal, you have to be really like have the best lawyer, or just, you know, just like really, really all these documents. Yeah, be very careful with that. Anyways, so I think that's pretty much it. Let me just zap through this a little bit. I guess I could talk. Oh yeah, I need to see one more thing. But yeah, Black Moon Lilith, like in Capricorn, another way to look at it is it's a fear of neglect. So not being like acknowledged and recognized, and just, yeah, just like trying to like control situations to feel that power, right? But like then it's like the more they try to dominate and control their people, um, like the more like and like the more or the less people like acknowledge the good things they do, and it pushes people away. So learning how to delegate and like let other people take the lead and work well with other people, and compliment other people, like that is the key. Now also, let me just check one more thing, two more things. So you have air, you have water, you have fire, but you have no earth. So that's very interesting. So when someone has no earth besides their north node and like a lot of outer planets, but I'm talking about inner planets, that is showing me that you are in a very similar challenge than me. We have a lot in common. It's crazy. Um, so you have to work extra hard at consistency, like the gym, like meditation. When you have no earth, like I don't know if you follow my Insta. I know you follow me, but I don't know if you um I don't know if you're like on my IG, see my stories or whatever, but or my posts, but it's so sad that Instagram stopped showing them. Just like, sorry to go off subject, but I made a post that was like so good. It was like like so good because it was like really like about just depression and like not identifying with depression. It was like no cuss words, nothing. And they flagged the post and they're like, you have to delete it or something. So I had to delete this post that got like a lot of love. And then I was really proud of it too. It took me a long time to write. And then 2 days later, after I delete it, they write back to me and they say, "Oh, actually, like, you know, your appeal got reversed." And I'm like, but still, now my reach for post is like so bad. It's so annoying. So hold on. Sorry. Yeah. So, anyways, really, really, really beautiful chart. You don't have that much to really be afraid of. I mean, like I said, we want to know about your transits, about your current astrology, what's going on now for you. That's a completely different reading. The reading I separate them is because this reading you'll have forever. This never changes, but current astrology is always changing, right? So, one and last thing I'll say about Sun opposite Neptune is that sometimes people with that they can be too much chameleon energy, and they can allow other people to tell them how to live their life, and they can lack energetic boundaries with people. That's a theme in your chart. So it's really important for you to understand you take in more energy than most people. So you need to be very firm with that. Lean into that Leo fire energy. Um, and Leo is it can be assertive, but it's not a mean sign. It's a very nice sign, you know. But yeah. So I hope you love you. I hope you were in love with this. I hope you enjoyed. Um, and you see how I've seen so many different things in here that were like saying the same thing in different ways. This is the magic of connecting the dots. And yeah, if you do choose to, oh, and look at that. Last thing I didn't say. Part of fortune is in, well, actually, I had a few other things I wasn't finished with. What am I at time wise? Okay. Part of fortune's in Leo. So basically that's talking about how like when you're doing your authentic self-expression, when you're being yourself, when you are in your inner child, when you are, doing that, doing you, creating for the sake of creating, not for the views, not for the, that kind of external appreciation. That's when you're at your best, when you're being yourself, when you're finding who you are, not who society's telling you to be. Now, also, as I was saying about Earth, I kind of got sidetracked. Like lacking Earth, like I said, that we're like the same. So it's harder for us to wake up day after day and feel like the same person. Our moods are fucking crazy. And your moon, you just not just, but like in the past, let's see. I'll do this for you just to give you a little preview. But I'm going to tell you, oh my God. Was it 3 years ago that you probably had a really, really rough time? Let's see. So yeah, Neptune was square your moon. And that would have been at its craziest in 2021. But like there's so many other things that, could, going on. And you're gonna have in the next 20 years Pluto opposite your Leo. So that's something to know about. But you also in the past, you know, actually that was a long time ago with the Pluto opposite your sun. So and then yeah, so you've gone through like a crazy, like wow, like that's crazy. Damn. Yeah, like pretty much your whole life it's been Pluto just because where was it where were you born? Pluto, where? Scorpio. So Scorpio's opposite sign of Taurus. Yeah. So basically, like your whole life, you've gone through Pluto opposite Gemini at a young age, then eventually oppose your sun, and then your ascendant, then your sun, and then after that, because you have all those back-to-back signs, now it's coming for Leo. But don't worry, it's not going to be for many years. It moves very slow. And I was going to say 19. Yeah. So 2021, at the start of 2021, Neptune was exactly square your moon. But even, 20 like COVID time, I guarantee was absolutely nuts for you. But that's just like one little thing I see, and there's a million different things I would see. So yeah, lacking Earth, it's just like really, really hard to be the same person day after day. And like my running is a great example. Like I know if I run each day or most days, that I'm pretty much guaranteed to be in a good mood, But so you just have to push yourself and figure out what that is for you. Routine, 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 routine. Okay. Okay, now I'm just looking for stars. Also, vesting on your sun, that just makes you very like, committed person, very focused person, um, very committed person, and very passionate person. So it just makes you like really care about your own well-being also. Um, and just like it just like really is like ensuring like what am I saying? It's just like it's just speaking to the importance of you having that healthy sense of self-esteem and the way that you see yourself. So like this literally goes exactly to what I was just talking about. You see? Another clue. Daily rituals, yoga, meditation, exercise, like You need that shit. I'm not saying want, you need it. Whatever your version of that is. Okay. Keep going. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Is that Rigel? So you have a wealth star Rigel on your moon. Exact degree. Holy shit. That okay. I need to I need to open this up then. Wow, it's 0.01 away. Damn. Very Craig. Where'd that thing go? Okay, where the heck did I put that thing? Okay, here it is. Did I see did I see that one? Oh wait. I'm tripping. No, I was wrong. But there's another one that is another well star, Bellatrix, that's conjunct your moon. Which is another one that is, it's not as close. Sorry, I if you could see the screen I'm looking at, it's like a million numbers so tucked together. It's really hard to see which one's which, but yeah, Bellatrix is also, very, very good when it comes to money. So, um, you know, with the moon, it is very much about luxury, um, wealth. Yeah, really, really like also good. It's based on inventions and just really good if one's involved in like business, like it can bring lots of promotions. So I already said you had the financial guardian angel. Um, so yeah. Okay. Next, moving. So yeah, they're all pretty much over here. If there are any, okay. So don't ask me what Hecate is. I mean, it's obviously a witch. But basically, like, it's about manifestation and magic, right? Just being able to have like deep esoteric gifts. I don't know much about it, to be honest, and I feel like it also has like a sexy quality, right? But look at like so like yeah, it is like this is what I'm gonna say. I've seen so many of my amazing female clients with Hecate conjunct an important part of their chart, and it's close to your Mars, right? And then you have Hydra right on your Mars, right between your Venus and your Mars. So that is the star of astrology. So if you ever want to learn astrology, I do one-on-one classes. I don't know how much longer I'll do them for because time, but I mean, yeah, it's really fun. I really love doing them. Like I love it. But yeah, that's in your chart. I need to take that one out. But yeah, so Hecate, it's just like, yeah, I just see it in, like I said, I see it in so many. And oh my God, you have Urania on your IC. That is the asteroid of astrology. So there's something here about astrology for you. And your midheaven is 28 Pisces, and you have a more on your midheaven, which is the asteroid that's linked to like the purest form of like love. So that means you like you love people, like you have this amazing compassion. It's like unconditional love. It's like one of my favorite asteroids. um and there's also an association with money, like just like goodwill in that sense. But like I just think it's really spiritual. It's really beautiful you have it on your midheaven because it means that you would be seen by people like on social media or something in this very, very Piscean, like just very like dreamy way, you know? That's crazy. You have both of them. That's I'm not just saying that. Like you really do. You have both. Um, also strategically, like the way like your mind works strategically, it's really good when it comes to kind of you know, like it's very analytical. It gives you like a very analytical mind, the Palace in Virgo. Um, good at coming up with like plans, like very detailed plans, and good communication, obviously. And the last one I talk about is series. Which is hiding. That's crazy of Urania. Oh man, it's insane. Okay, let's close this. So yeah, last one, series asteroid is in Libra, fourth house. So you feel, Libra series, it's like your moon, but like way, way less important. So in Libra, it's just like, you know, feeling cared for and being able to care for other people by the way that you love and by how you, create this very harmonious, peaceful environment at your home life, because in your home and with your family, because it's in the fourth house. Um, Whatever family means to you, whether it's your family of origin or your new family, right? So, yeah. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Let me know about the other reading. I wrote down all the details. I went, I felt really, really good about this one. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Actually, hold up. I might have one last thing to say. Chiron first house. I didn't talk about that. People with that sometimes they have like physical trauma. Um, where they're wounded like either physically or emotionally, right? Um, so I've seen that people who've had like different, and people tell me everything and I never repeat it, but I've heard people who've had like really horrible experiences with their with family members. Very sad. But I don't judge it, and it's just something I wanted to add in. But I want to see if I can find one quick thing that will end. But yeah, I would say just like doing things like yoga, working out is the best way to kind of remove some of that difficult energy. Um, let's think. Also, one thing I've noticed about Leo Venus people is they tend to love cats. Let me know if you love cats. Um, that's just like a random one I thought of. Um, but yeah, you definitely have like this very like king/queen aura around you. So remember, also last thing, Black Widow seventh house. Don't post your relationship on social media if you're in one. People can get very jealous of that. Or I mean, like you can if you want, but just like understand that like people can get jealous of like your relationship if you like kind of have like the perfect relationship or something like that. Um, but yeah, like with your son first house, it's like people will truly listen to you, like and take you seriously when you walk into a room. Like people, they do feel that plus that Leo energy. Um, so yeah. Um, yeah, like with the Chiron first house, I guess the last thing I would say is that that's even just more about like that misunderstood energy. Um, And it's just like other idiots that kind of just like usually are jealous of them, and yeah, it can be very much about like an identity crisis and um also like the trauma. So yeah. Yep. All right, that's it. Really, really fun reading. I really love doing this one tonight. It's always that first reading, like my last one was like the day before I left. I guess it was Thursday. Yeah. um I have so much to do. Like I literally have, I was like just like, oh my God, my Instagram, like, oh, and emails, like I have so much to do. What time is it? Because I like haven't looked at DMs. I haven't looked at emails. I have so much to do. But I was happy I could get this done for you. I'll probably do another reading after this right now, or after I answer some stuff. So yeah, I'll get this to you soon. Thank you. Ciao.